Wanted to give you guys an update. I've had my very first G-Shock. This is it right here, the GWM 500A-1CR. Um, I've had this now since January, actually, so about 9 months. And I have been nothing but pleased. In fact, I've become hooked on G-Shocks. The fact that I can actually take this for a swim and it'll never get damaged. I had it in the pool twice. The only thing that I noticed was there was some residue left on the band, and I realized after it came off after a little while, probably from just normally wearing it, that I probably just rubbed my wrist against something in the pool. So at first I was worried the finish was coming off, but thankfully it didn't. But it was a good thing that that happened, though, because that did show me how robust these G-Shocks really are. The other thing that I absolutely love about my G-Shock is the fact that it will go to sleep if left in the dark for about an hour. That, in turn, allows the internal time to keep going, and the display, which uses up a fair amount of energy, to rest and thus preserve the available energy in the solar cell. Because of that, this watch has not gone off high in the entire 9 months that I've had it, with the exception of one time, and I can't remember exactly what led up to it. I think what had happened was I'd left it on the stand away from the light for about 5 days, and it wasn't adequately able to pick up a charge, and I didn't have my bedroom light on because I was out of town. But still, 5 days without exposure to light. Once it gained exposure to light, it was no problem, got right back up there and hasn't budged since. This is, in my opinion, the watch that everybody should have, and you have no idea how much I wish that this thing was able to talk. Because if you take a look at my first G-Shock video, which is entitled appropriately My First G-Shock, that's when I show off the features of this watch. And I go into its features and explain how, when it comes to talking watches, we have talking watches that can do these things that the G-Shock can, but you have to get 5 or 6 different models to accomplish the same tasks, and none of them have the amount of robustness or water resistance. In fact, before I got this, I had purchased a cheap $15 Ryzen talking watch. It said water resistant, but having thought back to that day, it was incredibly cheap, and I'm beginning to wonder if water resistant wasn't something they just put on for marketing speak. They wouldn't even tell me how water resistant, what the maximum amount of water that thing could stand up to was. So I really do think that I was gypped. Not with this, though. I honestly could not be happier with the G-Shock. If it's going to rain, and it doesn't rain very often where I live, but if it is going to rain, or I'm going to go in the water, or I'm going to go to the gym, this is the one that I automatically wear, hands down. I wear my LifeMax Solar Watch on more casual occasions, but I found out recently that it's nowhere near as durable. It can't even take a small impact on a carpet. It hit a carpet the other day. The minute hand ended up going out of alignment. I had to realign all the hands to the home position, which is not a difficult task, but it is a little involved, and if you don't know what you're doing, you do have to read the manual. The other thing I wish the LifeMax would do that the G-Shock does is go to sleep. The hands don't sleep on that watch. They keep going, which I understand why. Because if they did go to sleep, you would wake up one morning and think that your watch was suddenly dead, especially if you were entirely blind. That's why I'm saying I wish that they would come up with a talking G-Shock. I just think it would be a huge seller among people who... There was somebody who was entirely blind that climbed Mount Everest. So there you go. If you're wondering if there's a market for that type of thing, there you go. But I love my G-Shock so much that I would like to see about getting another one. Not immediately, but sometime. And I've actually been looking at, when it comes to watches, I not only look at the design, but I also look at the features. I've got a talking atomic pocket watch. What's unique about that is it's a pocket watch. I've got a 3-button talking atomic watch with a leather band. What's unique about that is the fact that it has a British accent. I've got that LifeMax solar talking watch that I talked about earlier. What's unique about that one is that it's available in London. It's not available in the US, so I was able to get that. You get the idea. I'm basically looking for features that are unique that I don't have in any of my other timepieces. So what would it take for me to get another piece? As far as G-Shock goes, this is the GPW 1001A Gravity Master. Now it is $950. What is so special about it? You take the robust G-Shock versatility that you have with this watch, couple it with a movement that automatically aligns itself at the top of every hour and has tough solar and radio control. But you're thinking, well, wait a moment, that's an awful lot like what you have now, except it's analog. This is true, but there is one little party piece, and I think it's going to be the holy grail of timepieces of the future. Radio controlled watches have been around for a long time. The very first one I got about anywhere between 12 and 15 years ago. I don't remember exactly when, but it was the early 2000s. So radio controlled watches have been around for a very long time. What's unique about this one, I think, is a real turning point in standalone timepieces. This has GPS. Why does that matter? I've got relatives in Alaska and Hawaii. Neither of those states allow for a radio signal to be received. And in the case of a talking atomic watch, depending on your model, you might not be able to set the time manually, which means if you're entirely blind, you're screwed. I think this is brand new technology. It's $950. There are competitive products. The Citizen Satellite Wave GPS, which is $1,000. Let me double check the price here. $1,300. Seiko Astron. This is the cheapest one they've got. $1,899. Taking that into account, the Gravity Master is the cheapest at $950. This technology is very, very new. What happens is at least with the Gravity Master, I'm not sure about the others as far as the receiver's location, but at about the 6 o'clock position, right where you probably see bright red print, right there, it says Global Positioning System. What happens is if you travel to Hawaii or Alaska or Australia or New Zealand, both of those countries I'd like to visit at some point, there's no radio signal out there. So this watch can work with the GPS satellites. You point it straight up at the sky, wait a moment, and if your watch was on New York time when you left, it'll immediately be on Australia time. Give it a few minutes. You won't need to touch a thing. Just that one button. It communicates with about 5 or 6 satellites up in the sky, and it will automatically adjust the time and date accordingly. Now, you're probably thinking, well, your phone can do that too. Yes, it can. But here are some caveats. Number 1, roaming charges, especially in the case of Hawaii or New Zealand. Number 2, in addition to your location information, who knows what else those satellites collect? This watch is a standalone device. There is no way of communicating with anything else. All it gets is the location data needed to calibrate the time zone and the time and the date, and that's it. This is extremely new technology. The Seiko Astron was the first of its kind. At least that's from what I understand. Citizen shortly came out with theirs, and then this has been out since July. I think and hope that as soon as the pricing and the technology comes as soon as the technology comes down in price, that we will be able to have a talking watch with onboard GPS. The other really beautiful thing about this is this. I travel every year. I go up to my summer house, and I want to do more traveling. I want to see the world. I want to get out of my home area and see the world. The beautiful part about this is that even if you're in an area with radio signal reception, during the day, you can get out, push a button, and your time zone will automatically adjust. There's no need to worry about what time zone am I in, which is great because right around the middle of the United States, depending on where I'm transferring, I can sometimes get the states with Mountain and Central mixed up. So this is great because I won't need to worry about that. You just point it at the sky, push a button, boom, that's it. And I do think that as the price comes down, these GPS watches do have the potential to replace the radio-controlled atomic clocks. Now, you're probably thinking again, cell phone. We talked earlier about roaming charges. What if your battery goes down? What if the phone suddenly just completely decides to, you know? And you're thinking, well, what about the smartwatches? The smartwatches today rely on a smartphone, you know? So I do think that there is a place in the market for this new technology, for the GPS atomic watches. This is actually, this G-Shock is the only one with hybrid technology. That is that it's a Wavescepter multiband 6, and it has the onboard GPS. The other two that I showed you, the Seiko and the Citizen, GPS only. So, what do you guys think? Do you think there's a place in the world for this? Being a timepiece enthusiast, I want one. I don't know when I'll be able to get one. I'm hoping the price comes down over the next couple of years, but I do know I want one. Especially if it's going to be this G-Shock. Because you get environmentally friendly power reserve, GPS accuracy, and the fact that this thing will be able to stand up to anything from rough plane landings to accidental submersion in a lake. You know, you can take a G-Shock out on a boat. This is beautiful. I love this. I think it'd be a perfect travel companion. What are your thoughts? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome and have a nice day.